The Indiana State Sycamores, marching on under a new leader, one who sees a lot of himself in many of his students.
I'm a first-generation college student. I came from a lower income background. It's really informed who I am as a leader of an institution at Indiana State because I always am looking at the mindset of the student.
Indiana State's 13th president, Mike Godard, how his life experiences, especially athletics, have framed his leadership style, his goals for ISU and Tere Haute, and what it was like growing up in the mountains of Vermont. He's my guest this week on the Business and Beyond podcast. Hello and welcome to the Business and Beyond podcast presented by PNC. I'm Gary Dick. Indiana State University President Mike Godard's path to the Wabash Valley started in the Green Mountain State.
Burlington, Vermont, where I grew up, was a college town as well. And I see a lot of similarities with that in Tere Haute.
Godard was a talented three-sport athlete in high school, played basketball and ran track in college, that eventually wound up charting a path as a leader in higher education. Godard took over as ISU's president in early June after serving as provost at Southeast Missouri State. And I'm really pleased to be joined on the podcast by the 13th president at Indiana State University, Dr. Mike Godard. And Mike, really a pleasure to connect with you for the podcast. Welcome to Indiana.
Well, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to engage a little bit with you today, and certainly thrilled to be here in the state of Indiana and be serving as the newest president at Indiana State.
Well, talk about it, because you are brand new on the job. How long have you been on campus? A month or so?
Yeah, just about a month. This is my fourth week in the position, so started on June 1st and tried to hit the ground running, and I can't believe it's already been a month, quite honestly.
Well, I know you did hit the ground running. You were very active. I think visited Indiana State baseball. I know was in the Indiana or in the NCAA tournament, and made a few stops and kept very active. Talk about your initial impressions of ISU and the campus in Tere Haute.
Yeah, I mean, I will say no surprise that everyone has been incredibly welcoming, both here on campus, but certainly throughout the community. Again, been able to meet great people and be able to interact with a lot of folks and hear a lot of passion as well. And so I'm just really excited about the opportunities moving forward. You mentioned, my official first day was June 1st, which was a Saturday. So my wife and I jumped in the car and drove down to Lexington, Kentucky, and cheered on our baseball team. And fortunately, that was one of the games that we got to win. So I don't think I had anything to do with it, but I was pleased to be there to be able to celebrate that, with the team and all of our fans as well. And headed right back we just went down and back to Lexington and came back the next day because Sunday we had the air show in Tere Haute. And so we were able to go to that as well and interact with community members. And then the work week started, and it's been flying along ever since then.
That's good. Do you get a sense, I guess I do, of kind of the dawning of a new era in Tere Haute? You're obviously a new leader there at Indiana State University. There's a new mayor, Brandon Sackbun, who has been in office now for just a few months. Some new development, kind of a new spirit, if you will, around Tere Haute. Do you get that sense as well?
Yeah, very much so. A lot of excitement, a lot of enthusiasm. I've been able to meet with the mayor. We've interacted several times. We've had a one-on-one meeting together. That's been great. I think we have a lot of common goals that I think will certainly benefit the city and the region, but I'm obviously hopeful also benefit Indiana State. I've met with our 3 county commissioners. I've met with our school superintendent, CEO of Union Health. I mean, the list goes on in terms of individuals who have allowed for me to have the opportunity just to get to know a little bit more about the community. A lot of listening and learning at this point, but a lot of excitement across the community. And I would say on our campus as well, great respect for the prior leaders. of Indiana State University, but I sense in it a level of excitement and enthusiasm about what can be as we move into the future.
How important, in your view, is that connection between ISU and the community, in particular the business community? And I think there's been a fair amount said over the years that relationship between the university and the city, the community, hasn't been perhaps what it could be. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I can't speak to what happened in the past, but I can certainly look forward to the future. And for me, that's it's in my top three, if not my top two priorities that I have. And I would say that my top priorities kind of all intermix amongst each other anyways. And so that level of community engagement and commitment that we have in terms of providing an educated workforce to our community to drive the economics of the region in and of itself, we play a major role in that. And I take that work very seriously that we're able to be a part of here, knowing that we're one of four higher education institutions in this community, but also understanding that we are the largest and we have a level of that responsibility. Those connections with our business and industry are certainly going to impact our students. But when we talk about retaining our students in the community to provide that workforce needs, to meet those demands, and to provide that economic stimulus that we want to be able to do for the health and well-being of everyone that we serve.
As you look at the asset that Tere Haute has in terms of higher education, you mentioned it, ISU, Rose, St. Mary's, Ivy Tech, among others. How big of an advantage does Tere Haute have that a lot of other communities don't, to have that many institutions right in their own backyard?
Yeah, I think it's incredibly unique for a community this size to have, four institutions. That I will say my early sense of all that, and I've been able to meet with several of the leaders of those other institutions already, that there's a common desire for us to continue to be collaborative in everything that we do. And so I don't sense that there's an overly complex competition-based formula that's out there that we're all competing against each other. I don't see that as all. I see that we're stronger with each other, and the community grows as a result of us growing strategically as well. And so it's unique in a community this size for sure. But I think what makes it even more special is the fact that everyone is so collaborative and wants the best for Tere Haute and our surrounding regions.
In your view, what is ISU's role? You mentioned workforce and being part of a pipeline, providing workforce and talent there in the Wabash Valley. But as you look at ISU's place in the higher education landscape, what is it? Where is it?
Yeah, so for us, we're about providing access and opportunity for students to have an individualized pathway to be successful in life and work. And part of that means that we provide our students, and our students that we serve are students in which half of them are first-generation college students. A large majority of our students come from a lower socioeconomic background. They're Pell-eligible students as well. And Gary, that was me. I'm a first-generation college student. I came from a lower income background. And so when I think about our ability to provide that generational change that can happen for a family, we talk about transformation of students, which is incredibly important. And we're in that business and we want to see that. But when we talk about the generational change that can come forth as a result of that, and how that can impact a community, not just short term, or it can be long term as well, we play a major role in that. And again, it's something that I'm humbled to be a part of, and we want to make sure that we're doing everything we possibly can to allow for each and every student and every member of our community to have the social and economic mobility to allow for them to prosper.
You mentioned you were a first-generation college student. How does that frame how you act as a college president? Your vision, your thinking as a college president. How does that impact that?
Yeah, I think for me, it's really informed who I am as a leader of an institution at Indiana State, because I always am looking at the mindset of the student and how can we think about different ways of approaching challenges that are in front of us and taking down as many barriers as we can. I know for me, I didn't know what I didn't know when I went on a college campus. And I had loving parents who wanted the best for me, but they didn't have those experiences to be able to pass on to me. And so for me, it's always been an opportunity that we have to mentor that next generation of students that perhaps are the first in their family to go to college. And I was fortunate to have great mentors in my life around the way that came alongside me at just the right point in time and in my kind of career trajectory. But that started when I was a freshman on a college campus. And so I want to continue, hopefully, to be that person for the students at Indiana State. And I want our faculty and staff to embrace that as an opportunity. And I think the special thing that we have here, and one of the things that I'm incredibly proud of already that I've seen, is we have an ethic of care for our students and for our colleagues as well. And for me, that goes a long way in terms of allowing individuals, again, to have that ability to be successful in life and work.
You come to ISU from Southeast Missouri State University, where you were provost, had been provost for the past 5 years or so. What attracted you to this opportunity at Indiana State?
Yeah, I would say several things. Number one, having some familiarity with the state of Indiana, having spent some time here earlier in my career, and my oldest son was born in the state of Indiana as well. So a familiarity and really a respect for the state in terms of its support for higher education was one of the factors. But the major factor was who Indiana State is and who we serve. And I kind of mentioned, we serve students and in a manner in which we allow for them to have that access and opportunity to earn a college degree and for them to be able to really do things that perhaps they never dreamed that they'd have an opportunity to be a part of. And then the caring aspect of who we are as a faculty and a staff and the community of Tere Haute. I saw tremendous benefit there in terms of Tere Haute playing such a large role. And for me, I kind of looked at where are my skill sets? I only want to go somewhere where I think I can have a positive influence and a place in which I feel like I can make a meaningful difference, not to benefit me, but to benefit the people who I'm able to serve. And I saw that in Indiana State, and I saw that in the community of Tere Haute.
When you look at some of the challenges and opportunities, certainly ISU has seen enrollment drop over the last number of years. It's been a big issue there. As you look at that, and in the broader landscape of challenges in higher education generally, how do you address that? How do you address enrollment as a big issue there? Yeah,
and I think, it's multifaceted, of course. I mean, there's not one solution that's going to get us to a point at which we get to a stabilized enrollment base that we're comfortable with and that we know is necessary for the health and the longevity of the community that we're able to be a part of here in Tere Haute. But there is some areas in which I think we have an opportunity to expand upon. And one of those, honestly, is looking at our retention and our completion rates of our students. It's one thing to bring a student into Indiana State University, but that's not our goal. Our goal is to make sure that every student who comes to Indiana State leaves Indiana State earning a degree. And so making sure that we get all of our students across the finish line and provide them with the wraparound services that are necessary. There's a lot of great things already going on here. But again, my goals are perhaps more aspirational than what people think are possible. But I've served at regional public comprehensive institutions for my entire career. And I'm a product of a regional public comprehensive institution myself. And I see opportunities for us to grow our retention significantly over the next couple of years to enhance our completion rates. But then when we talk about recruitment of students, again, it's what is our value proposition? Who are we at Indiana State? what value do we bring to our students and our families who come here and trust us to make sure that they are going to have that pathway to be successful? And I think we have some distinctions here, and I've already mentioned a few of them, and we're going to build upon those and we're going to lean into those. We are Indiana State University. We are an institution that has a defined brand. We have successful athletic programs that have brought some good notoriety to our institution over the years, for decades. We want to continue to build upon some of those successes. And then our academic strength that we have, and again, our ability to walk alongside our students to make sure that they have the types of experiences and the sense of belonging that we know is going to be critically important for them. And again, that all plays into their ability to have that social and economic opportunities as they graduate from Indiana State. Challenges in the landscape of higher education, fewer graduating high school seniors, and fewer of those individuals deciding to go on to get a college degree. Those are all factors that we've had to deal with over the past few years. But again, we need to start incorporating what we do in the education of the families at an earlier age, starting to mention the opportunity to go to college when someone's a junior in high school is, quite honestly, oftentimes too late. We need to start to have those conversations with families and prospective students when they're in fifth grade, when they're in sixth grade, so that they can see that trajectory and they're taking the appropriate coursework through high school to prepare themselves to be successful when they come to Indiana State. And we need to engage in the community in perhaps ways in which we haven't done so. Again, just talking to Chris Hemsel earlier this week about opportunities that we have to collaborate. I'm excited about what we can do just in our backyard, but across the state of Indiana and beyond in terms of who we are and our value proposition at Indiana State.
You mentioned a little bit of this in those comments there, but what would be your elevator pitch as you're talking to students and families about ISU?
Yeah, I say really what it focuses on is we care about the students, and that ethic of care that we have here goes beyond just in the classroom. It's across our campus to make sure that every student has those opportunities to engage with our faculty, to engage with our staff, but certainly other students. And with that, I would say what we have is a very concerted effort to make sure that every student has experiential learning opportunities that are going to directly translate into job skills and job readiness for them to go into the workforce and be successful from day one. But that goes along with some of the things that I think we have opportunities to continue to improve on, and that's the scaffolding of those experiential learning opportunities with our business and industry around our region to ensure that we're making those connections early and often with individuals who are going to need that educated workforce moving forward. Let's not wait until a capstone experience. And so what we're able to do here at Indiana State is to really provide that scaffolding approach to the experiential learning that provide that sense of belonging and that overall ethic of care with the quality academic programs that we have here at Indiana State.
Much more ahead with new Indiana State University President, Dr. Mike Godard. When we return, we'll talk about growing up, his path to Tere Haute, and much more when the Business and Beyond podcast returns.
At PNC Bank, we're committed to making a difference in the lives of our customers and communities by helping them move forward financially. As a Main Street bank, we try to do right by our customers with every encounter. Our local teams offer personalized financial advice to help guide you in making the best decision. We're proud to be part of your community. PNC Bank. See how we can make a difference for you at pnc.com. Copyright 2022, the PNC Financial Services Group, Inc., all rights reserved.
Welcome back to the Business and Beyond podcast presented by PNC. My guest this week is new Indiana State University president, the 13th president at ISU, Dr. Mike Godard. And Mike, we talked a lot about ISU, its profile, challenges, opportunities. Let's talk a little bit about you and your path to Tere Haute. You grew up in Vermont, right? Tell me about growing up in Vermont.
Yeah, grew up in the Northeast in Vermont and experienced some long winters along the way. But yeah, my parents still live in Vermont. My sister lives in Vermont. That growing up was a great environment to be in. Actually, Burlington, Vermont, where I grew up, was a college town as well. And I see a lot of similarities with that in Tere Haute because there was multiple institutions within that given geographical area. Certainly the one that everyone thinks of is the University of Vermont, but there's St. Michael's College. At that point in time, there was Champlain College, there was Trinity College, there was all these other institutions in that area, and a beautiful area to grow up because you're right on Lake Champlain. And it's called the Champlain Valley because of Lake Champlain, but around that you're surrounded by mountains. Great place to grow up. Parents provided my sister and I opportunities for us to kind of be able to do things that they weren't able to do growing up. And so very fortunate in that regard.
So you mentioned your first generation college student. How did you get on the path to college? Was that always going to be your path growing up?
Yeah, I'd love to tell you that was, but really my path, I don't think it was unique, but it's certainly my story and my path. And that's that, I was a 3-sport athlete in high school and I wanted to continue to play sports. And so that was one avenue I had. I can't say I was a real serious student in high school. I think I was serious when I needed to be to make sure that I could continue to do what I wanted to do on the athletic side of things. And I think my parents would probably attest to that to this day. But again, it opened up a door for me. And so I was able to continue to compete and then when I was able to actually go to college and, find out more of what I wanted to do and those transitions that happened in college, again, it was just having great mentors in my life along the way.
So 3 sports, football, baseball, basketball. What were the 3?
Football, basketball, track and field.
Okay. What was your favorite?
It's interesting. Gary, I first went away to college to a school in Fayetteville, North Carolina to run track. And I was a 400-meter runner, and I did that for my first 2 years. And then I figured out kind of what I wanted to major in, and I actually ended up transferring back to what's now Vermont State University in Castleton. And they didn't have a track and field team, so I then played basketball my last couple of years. So I would say my favorite sport to play is probably basketball, although I was probably a more talented athlete in track than I was in basketball. So
what did sports teach you? And as you look at sports and what it gives and provides for student athletes, what is the true experience that sports, in your view, provides?
Yeah, I will say certainly it taught me and continues to teach me about what does dedication look like? What does perseverance look like? What does it mean to work collaboratively with others to achieve a common goal? So we talk about team. So when I think about that, I think about relationships that are built. I think about trust. And so when I look back at what is my leadership philosophy, it was really built upon being involved with athletics, all growing up. And for me, that is really being as transparent as you can and building those trusting, authentic relationships with people. And that's what you do in athletics. That's how you have teams that are successful when all else is equal. That's what it comes down to. So it taught me a tremendous amount.
As you look at sports at the collegiate level, obviously it's an expensive endeavor to do it, but yet as you see at universities all over the country, including Indiana State with a great run in basketball this year, and the attention and the visibility and the excitement that's created around sports, As you look at sports as a part of the experience at ISU, how important do you think intercollegiate athletics are to Indiana State?
Yeah, I think it's part of our identity, and I think it certainly impacts our student athletes, of course, and that's a direct, obviously, impact that happens. But I think about all the indirect impacts that it happens for our other students and for our faculty and staff in terms of the pride that brings to an institution and that sense of belonging that brings to our other students who perhaps aren't participating in a sport, but they're able to attend and cheer on and be a part of that entire experience. And so I think about the belonging, I think about the pride, and I also think about, obviously, on the business side of things, the brand recognition that it brings us as an institution and how that translates into the community that we're able to be in Tere Haute and the Wabash Valley area. That sense of pride goes a long way. And I think that all plays into us being successful as an institution. It is the front porch of who we are for our community. And again, that's something that we need to continue to lean into and be supportive of, because it's not an either or, it's an and.
As a former student athlete, now leading a university, I'd be interested in your thoughts. I just popped into my head here as we're talking about the business of sports, and certainly now with name, image, likeness, the portal, the challenges that which I can't imagine. I don't like a lot of it personally. Yeah, I think as a fan and an alum, I think it makes it very difficult for a lot of universities like Indiana State. You see what happened in the portal with transfers and all those kinds of things. What, in this new age of intercollegiate athletics, what does that present to universities like Indiana State and others who, it seems to be all about the money, unfortunately? Your thoughts on this new athletic landscape?
Yeah, I think, there's always going to be pluses and minuses to everything that's out there. And I do think, there's got to be a balance as we move forward. I think the transfer portal can be incredibly confusing to our student athletes. I worry about how that's going to impact their ability to complete their degree in a timely manner when there's 2, 3, 4 transfers going on for a student athlete in their given college career, and how that impacts their satisfactory academic progress, and for them being able to kind of get those types of experiences that build upon each other academically to allow for them to be successful in the workforce once they leave the institution. I just worry about those disconnects that happen year over year for those student athletes. And so for me, it's that side of things that worry me the most. But in terms of NIL and how that plays into it, we have a certain donor base and those that are friends of the institution that they're making decisions on how they want to invest their resources as well. And sometimes those are competing priorities when we talk about facility needs and other scholarship needs that we have as an institution to continue to be competitive. And again, I'm not saying I'm anti-NIL. I just think that balanced approach on how we do that moving forward and how that's going to impact some other things that perhaps are going to be put on the back burner. We just all have to be realistic about that. But I will say for me, it's the caring of the student athletes and their ability to be able to complete their degree in a timely manner that worries me the most.
Mike, as we look at the rest of this your first year on campus, now there's 6 months to go. What are going to be some of the priorities that you see occupying your time here, the final 6 months of 2024?
Yeah, one of them a couple of them that we talked about already, but I will say, enrollment is certainly one of those that's top of mind and will continue to be as we navigate through. We've had some challenges, us and others, with enrollment over the past couple of years. I think there are some, immediate kind of medium term and some long-term opportunities that we have in that regard. And we're already taking steps to work through how we can kind of capitalize on some of those opportunities. The FAFSA kind of debacle that's been going on across the nation has certainly been problematic, especially for the students who we're fortunate to serve. And a lot of the students that we serve were not able to make an informed decision in the same type of timeline that they normally would because they didn't know what their financial aid package was going to look like. So that's certainly a challenge, but I think hopefully it's just a one-year blip and we'll be able to navigate through that. But enrollment being one of them. The other one that we mentioned as well, Gary, is community relations and being able to really build those strong relationships with our business and industry leaders throughout our community. But I'm also trying to spend a lot of time getting to know our local, regional, and state political leaders as well, in ways in which I can hear from them and hopefully they can hear from me in terms of what our priorities are, as well as we navigate into the next legislative session at the state level. And those conversations have been so incredibly positive, and everyone, again, has been open to conversations. And so I look forward to expanding upon those and spending time in Indianapolis, but certainly spending time with our local government as well to make sure that we build those synergies. And then lastly, overall, in terms of our campus community, is to just build trusting, authentic relationships with our faculty, staff, and students, and being very visible across campus and throughout the community, because that's the only way I know how to build trusting relationships, is to be around people and take the time to be able to listen and hear.
Dr. Mike Godard is the 13th president at Indiana State University. And Mike, it's been a real treat to have the conversation with you, and look forward to visiting on campus soon. And good luck, not only in this first year, but for many years ahead at ISU and Tere Haute.
Well, thank you for the opportunity and looking forward to the years ahead.
All right. Dr. Mike Godard, the 13th president at Indiana State University, my guest this week on the Business and Beyond podcast presented by PNC. It's a weekly conversation with achievers in business, sports, entertainment, and beyond. And you can download all of our episodes and get Indiana business news 24/7. All you have to do is go to InsideIndianaBusiness.com. I'm Gary Dick. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.